Hello and welcome to Herstory episode 19, the Pocahontas edition. We're nearly on 20. This is very exciting. I didn't think any of you would still be following me at this point, so thank you. Thank you for sticking with me. Sorry my videos are a little bit few and far between at the moment. I'm currently in the final stages of writing my essays for my master's degree before I go into dissertation prep. So as of the end of October, I will be a little more free to do more videos and I won't be quite so bound up with master's degree stuff. So without further ado, let's launch into Pocahontas. Pocahontas, born Matawaka, circa 1596. She was born in what is present-day Gloucester County in Virginia. She's the daughter of Chief Powhatan of the Senecomica tribe. Her mother's name and origin are unknown, but her mother was likely of a lowly status and is said to have died in childbirth. Pocahontas means little wanton, the playful one, which was the nickname given to her by her father. So her real name is Matawaka and her Pocahontas is just a nickname. The English settlers arrived in Virginia in April 1607 and built a fort on the marshy peninsula on the James River when Pocahontas was about 10 years old. John Smith, who I'm sure you will all recognise from the Pocahontas film, was captured while exploring the Chickahominy River and was brought to Chief Powhatan. He spoke with him. He ate at a great feast with him. But somehow everything goes a bit awry. Perhaps there's a bit of a misunderstanding or we're not entirely sure. He does indeed end up being saved by Pocahontas as her dad is about to bash John's brains out. That's the theory anyway. The whole thing with the scene on the rock where John's about to get his head caved in, Pocahontas does save him. She's a lot younger than she was in the film, but she does save him, and it's not for love. It's but there are arguments that this was some kind of ritual, some kind of ceremony, some kind of way of brokering a truce, a deal with the settlers. This is only John Smith's account, so we don't know. He looks a little bit like Radcliffe's dog in the film, doesn't he? I know he's not a pug, he's a Shih Tzu, but he does look a little bit like he definitely behaves like Governor Radcliffe's dog. He thinks he's a little prince, don't you? Yes. So yes, it's John Smith's account that he's going to get his head bashed in. It could have been a ceremony, could have been some kind of ritual, could have been some kind of way of making a truce, because what happens as a result of that and her saying, no, Dad, don't bash his head in, is that John is kind of appointed the head of the settlers in Chief Powhatan's eyes, right? So it's a fact. It's a fact that Pocahontas did befriend John Smith and the Jamestown colony. She played often with the children there. Pocahontas brought them food when their crops failed, and they all got along very well until the colonists began expanding their land and encroaching on the Senecomica lands, basically. So in late 1609, an injury from a gunpowder explosion forces John Smith back to England for medical treatment, and that's not where his and Pocahontas' story ends, but that's the extent of their interaction in the New World. So Unfortunately, there was no love between Pocahontas and John Smith. This is during what's called the First Anglo-Powhatan War in late summer 1609. Pocahontas is also captured by colonists at this time. She was held for ransom for a year in Chesterfield County, Virginia. During this time, a minister taught Pocahontas all about Christianity, taught her English, and she was baptized under the name Rebecca. Can you not kiss me, please? No, I'm doing a video. So in March 1614, the standoff between the two groups of people, escalated to a violent confrontation between colonists and Powhatan men. The colonists allowed Pocahontas to speak to her tribe. She reportedly rebuked her father for valuing her less than the weapons she was being ransomed for, because he'd refused to pay up. He'd given them a paltry amount, wasn't what they asked for. And she said she would prefer to stay with the colonists. Pocahontas' first husband, plot twist, was Coquitlam in 1610. They were married in 1610. He was killed by colonists after his wife's capture in 1613. On April the 3rd, 1614, aged just 17, she married John Rolfe. Okay, bye then. Okay, bye. Can you lay down? I can't remember what the dog's called. Should have researched what the dog's called. Can you sit down, please? Thank you. Just waving your bum in the screen. Yes, she marries John Rolfe, who is the founder of the Virginia tobacco plantation called Verena Farms. As I say, Pocahontas was baptized and took the Christian name of Rebecca Rolfe. Stop itching. Stop itching. Stop. It's impossible to do a video when you have dogs. Their son Thomas Rolfe was born in January 1615, which means she was probably already pregnant when they got married. The marriage created a climate of peace between the colonists and the Powhatan tribes, and the peace of Pocahontas endured for over 8 years. The Virginia Company saw an opportunity to promote further investment by taking Pocahontas to England as a symbol of this tamed New World savage that had been converted to Christianity, right? So the Rolfes arrived at Plymouth on June the 12th, 1616. They journeyed to London by coach with other Powhatans, including a holy man called Tomoko. John Smith wrote to King James's wife, Queen Anne of Denmark, and requested that Pocahontas be treated as a royal visitor. The two old friends didn't meet at this point. Pocahontas actually thinks John Smith has died as a result of his injuries. Pocahontas was entertained at various social gatherings throughout her time in London. On January the 5th, 1617, she and Tomoko were brought before the king at the old banqueting house at the Palace of Whitehall. This would be King James the second. James first. James first to England. Yeah, James first to England. It would be King James. Yes, brought before the king at the old banqueting house at the Palace of Whitehall. Pocahontas and Rolfe lived in Brentford for some time, as well as Rolfe's family home at Heacham in Norfolk. She finally saw her friend John Smith again in 1617 and greeted him as father, so definitely no romantic relations there between them. The Powhatan had been told he was dead, so this was a bit of a shock for her to find out that he was alive. In March 1617, Pocahontas and Rolfe boarded a ship to return to Virginia, but they only got as far as Gravesend in Kent when Pocahontas became gravely ill. She was taken ashore and died at the age of approximately 21. Her death has been attributed to pneumonia, smallpox, tuberculosis, or even poisoning. Her funeral took place on March the 21st, 1617 at St George's Church in Gravesend, and she's thought to have been buried underneath the church's chancel. Her memory is honoured with a life-size bronze statue at the church. And that is all there is to say about the facts of Pocahontas's very short life. Now I'm going to do our little fun facts section as always. But that, as I've just told you, that is her main story. Such a short little life, but such a powerful impact. So, fun facts about Pocahontas. In 1907, Pocahontas was the first Native American to be honoured on a US stamp. Pretty cool. First Lady Edith Wilson, who was Woodrow Wilson's wife, was descended from Pocahontas. There have been a lot of romanticised versions of her story with an affair with John Smith that arose after her death, but all contemporary accounts substantiate that they were friends. Sorry, Disney lovers. She's inspired 9 films, a Broadway musical, a West End musical, a burlesque, and a ballet, among many other art forms. There's only one image of her drawn in person. The Virginia Company commissioned a portrait of her, and that portrait of her is the thumbnail for this video. When she died, her son Thomas stayed in England, and Rolfe returned to Virginia. 20 years later, Thomas went to the US and took over the tobacco plantation. Pocahontas and Cocoa may have had a child called Kaoki, a daughter that she was forced to give up to the Powhatan women to care for when she was kidnapped, which is really sad. Pocahontas was raped multiple times whilst in captivity and became pregnant with her son Thomas during this time, soon after her and John Rolfe married. Now, that for me taints the story quite substantially. Stop licking. He's licking his balls. It taints the story quite significantly because it makes me question whether she willingly married Rolfe or whether she thought that was just the right thing to do, because she was pregnant with his child, a child that was probably conceived as a result of rape. Taints it slightly for me. After Pocahontas was captured, she never saw her family, father, or her child again, which is really sad. She died suddenly and she'd been in very good health, which gave rise to the rumours that she was poisoned. After her death, many of the native people accompanying her on her journey, including the holy man Tomoko, were either sold as servants or carnival attractions. Stop bloody chomping! He's right near the microphone. He's sitting next to the microphone going, stop it! Don't get dogs. Sorry, yeah, they were sold as servants or carnival attractions. If they had become pregnant through rape, they were sent to Bermuda and sold into slavery. Love Britain. We were so great. As I said before, the John Smith rescue may have been a misunderstanding. It's thought the ritual was one of friendship, as afterwards Smith was recognised by Powhatan as the chief of the colonists. But there was definitely no romance, as she was 10 years old when this supposedly happened. So that is it. That is everything about Pocahontas. A very short life, but it's about what her life symbolised. And I think the film did a very good job of showing her as a go-between, as a rational person that didn't care about money or resources or riches, who cared about the land in which she lived and nature. I think the film has done that very well. The romance between her and John Smith, no, unfortunately not true, but I can see why that would feed into Disney's story and just enhance that message of tolerance and acceptance. So I get why they made that decision to do that. But yeah, she's been kind of immortalized by Disney. Her real story is very similar in some ways, but they've certainly left out the more tragic elements of her life. Her poor son, his mum died when he was an infant, so he would have never got to know his mother. And his father went back to live in America. So, but there's lots of cool people descended from Thomas Rolfe. Edith Wilson is just the coolest, in my opinion. So there we go. That is Pocahontas. Hope you have enjoyed. Next episode is by popular demand. You've all voted on the poll, and it's going to be Nellie Bly, which I'm really excited to do. So I'm going to go away and research that, and I will see you very soon with episode 20. It's very exciting. Episode 20 of Herstory, and I will see you very soon. Much love. Take care. Have a wonderful week. Don't do anything I wouldn't. That doesn't leave a lot.